Three, two, one. What's up, everybody? Jay Bell, thanks for joining us. How are you today?
I'm doing phenomenal. Just
Doing good.
another 4th of July, another one halfway in the books.
Another fourth. How was the fourth? Is it any different out there? Jay Bell lives in San Diego. Is it any different out there than it was back home in Ohio?
Well, I actually, I have friends who do the same stuff I'd be doing back home. But I actually got my second COVID shot yesterday. So
Uh-oh.
I just taking the weekend off and just to be cautious of not feeling bad. And but yeah, I'll probably be doing something later, maybe going out to a brewery or
Okay.
beach, see some fireworks.
Do you feel sick at all after any of the COVIDs? No?
No, I know plenty of people who have felt pretty bad. I know that's typically more with the Moderna and the J&J. I got the Pfizer. So I haven't felt, my family has done pretty well with them. So I haven't had any ill effects.
Okay, that's what's up. So for all you guys who don't know, Jay Bell is a friend of mine from high school, went to high school together, ran track together. Good athlete, may not look like it. Good athlete.
Yeah, I've been in the gym the last two and a half months. So
you've been going.
Next time you come out here, I'll have a little more.
All right. Let's see. Put that 225 up. But just tell us a little bit about why you decided to move to San Diego, because I think I remember back in, I think maybe senior year of high school, but I know freshman year of college, you used to always tell us, I'm moving to San Diego. And part of me was like, all right, maybe he'll do it, maybe he won't. And then next thing you know, we graduate and Jay Bell's going to San Diego. So just tell us a little about that process. What made you want to do it, and kind of how you stuck with it through 4 years.
Yeah, so anyone who knows me knows I'm a big San Diego promoter. I will tell everyone and their mother about how San Diego is like the best city in the world. And I believe it. I was born here, and I grew up here till I was about 7. Okay. And then I took, my dad got a new job. Well, he had the same job, different position. They moved him to Cincinnati, Ohio. And I grew up the rest of my years there and met you and everyone else. Okay. But yeah, I've always been wanting to move back to San Diego ever since I moved here, because you never realize how special San Diego is until you've lived somewhere else. So as soon as I was gone, I was like, wow. So here it's a nice day every couple weeks. You get a really nice day. In San Diego, it's a nice day every day.
Right.
It really just changes your entire lifestyle. You can really do anything you want, all types of recreational activities, great food, and it's available to you every single day of the week. Right. So I've just been itching to go back there, and I'm of the, I tend to think that you can move wherever you want. Depending on whatever your goals are, like if your goal is to make as much money as possible, right, coming to San Diego is probably not the best decision for you, just because you're going to be losing a lot to taxes. But
that's true.
For me, I'm willing to pay that cost as a young person who just wants to spend some of my youngest years and prime years in what I think to be the nicest city to be a young person in. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, that is neat, because I went to San Diego back, I think in 2018. I remember you had been saying so much about it. And then when I went, I was like, okay, it really is like that. Like, I mean, it probably.
Yeah, and you probably didn't even get the full Jay Bell experience. Like,
no, I did not.
You see a lot of the stuff like downtown, and then you go like maybe up to like Mission Bay, Pacific Beach, but like there's a whole like coastline, kind of like Mason's distance from downtown, up like 30 to 40 minutes north. That whole coastline, there's a whole bunch of different communities. And I see a whole lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. Okay. That's nice. Yeah. We stayed kind of downtown a little bit. But it was a great time. Went to Roberto's. If you guys don't know about Roberto's, you got to try Roberto's, the California burrito. What they have in there, the fries in there. And
we got Roberto's, we got Filiberto's, Humberto's, Raul's. It's just every place you go. The more beat up it looks, the better it is. So.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. And then this last thing about San Diego then. The beaches, what would you say, are they any different than the Florida beaches? Because I think the California beaches were more like, obviously the rocks and stuff like that. Is there any other differences you see in the beaches? I know you like going to the beach.
Well, there's like a lot of different styles of beach in San Diego. I know kind of in Florida and all along the East Coast, your beaches are pretty flat. There's not a whole lot of different, even the sand is pretty consistent throughout a lot of it. In Southern California, you're going to get cliffs, you're going to get really short beaches, you're going to get really long beaches, you're going to get beaches with really like seashells and rocks that are gonna scrape up your feet pretty bad, and you'll get beaches that have just that typical soft sand. So there's a whole bunch of different types of beaches, and the ones I prefer are the ones that are like maintained by the city, because they will clean up all the seaweed. And the seaweed, if it sits there and rots, you'll get a ton of insects and smells, and stuff you just don't want.
Okay, interesting. That's what's up. I'm excited to go back out there. Try and come out there.
Yeah, you got to book that flight here. I'm ready. Anytime after July.
I'm playing.
Hey, I know you're hooked up good. I know Merck's treating you right. So
they are.
I don't feel bad about asking you. But I got to get you before you move to Florida too, so you like it more.
Right, I know. Every time I go to Florida, every time I go back, I'm like, man, I kind of like Florida. It's really nice here, a little bit cheaper. I definitely do enjoy Florida. I think the West Coast is a little bit better. Just it's not as humid.
Is it worth the cost? And
the cost.
In the long run,
Arizona's nice. Then you can kind of go off something like that. But J Bel is the anime guy. I'm telling you guys right now. We're gonna jump right in.
Hey, don't be saying we got our mutual friend Delu. He's a savvy anime guy too. But
Delu, shout out Delu. We'll put his little Instagram link below.
I will take a lot of credit for trying to get Nick on the anime train for a long time.
Yes, J Bel got me fully on the anime train. So J Bel and Adele have been telling me to watch anime for a few years, and I was always kind of like, I don't know. So I watched Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z. I watched like the first 30 episodes, a little bit too long. I saw how long it was, so I stopped. But then I watched Attack on Titans. Oh my gosh. Everyone, if you have not seen Attack on Titans, you have to watch Attack on Titans. I think it's the greatest anime ever, but I haven't really seen that many. So I asked you, J Bel, what is the greatest anime of all time?
Every anime fan, has to maintain their like top 5, their top 10 all the time. Like you're constantly thinking about it and shuffling them around, because when you encounter another anime fan, it's like, you got to run through the whole list. You got to run through every show, because you've seen like 10 shows in common and you got no one else to talk with. So it's like, all right, we'll talk about this show.
Right.
But in terms of my all-time, because so I've seen quite a few, not as many as like Adelu and some like super hardcore people, but enough to get a good like sampling of a lot of the most popular shows. And of my all-time list, I would say that
give us a top 3. Give us a top 3.
I can give you a top 3, and I'd say my personal favorite is probably Attack on Titan. It's one of the first anime I ever saw, and just the story of how it kind of, the second season took 4 years to make, and everyone forgot about this show that was super hyped up.
Yeah.
And then it came back, and I didn't even check it out. And so a couple years later, I hear it was pretty good, and so I dipped back in, and my mind was just blown. I had no idea, that this story was even capable of being told. It was just like it's just a nonstop blast, and it just continuously builds on itself.
Right.
To make the older stuff even better.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The thing about Attack on Titans that's so great is that there's no like throwaway scenes. Like I feel like there are scenes when I watch the second time, there's scenes in the first couple of shows that are still relevant in the last season, and everything was kind of right in front of you. Sorry, some spoilers, but whatever. But just the progression of the show, and then how Eren goes from the little boy to now. I mean, we know now what he's doing. I won't go that far. For all the Titans, is Eren the most powerful Titan?
I mean, I don't want to give away anything for the audience, but there are ways that the powers change over time. They can kind of stack. You can take the powers from people, and this creates a whole dynamic in the show of trying to take them, and you can wield multiple of them at the same time. So it's there's a whole lot of different combinations, a whole lot of different ways things can go down, and I don't want to give away anything. But I will say that Eren's Titan is special. Each Titan is like special in their own way, but his is like pretty uniquely special, and in the way that it complements his story and his personality.
Okay. And then I guess because we can say the names of them and they won't really know what's going on if they do watch. 3v3, 3 Titans versus 3 Titans. Who is your 3 that you're taking into battle? The battle.
My choice, it would have to be I don't know if I would take the Attack Titan in a 3v3. Just because it's special ability. I don't know how much that helps in combat. I think it it more depends on just the user's combat skills. So I'll probably go with the Warhammer first. The Warhammer is just, you don't play with the Warhammer.
Warhammer's
not play with the Warhammer. But and then maybe the Jaw and the Colossal. Maybe that's how I'd roll. I think the Jaw is really versatile, and the Colossal's just,
right. Okay. See, I agree with that. I think I would definitely take Aaron, just because I'm biased, and he's just that dude.
Yeah, he's nice. He's got hands, so
he's that dude.
He's gonna be a menace.
The Warhammer, obviously, if you don't pick the Warhammer, you're crazy. But I gotta go with the Colossal after that. I don't really want the Jaw. After, I'm not gonna say it, but exactly the part I'm talking about. No respect for him anymore.
Yeah. Understandable.
That would definitely be my 3. But yeah, that'd be my 3. I think that'd be just interesting to see if they could even do something like that. But another thing I like about the anime too is just the combat. I mean, the way they fight and things like that. And that kind of takes me into Jujutsu Kaisen. Just start watching that.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, this thing, I don't know. I think it could be better than Attack on Titans. Maybe. It's so
you gotta understand that Jujutsu Kaisen is like a classic shonen show. Like it's your first big shonen. Like a shonen is a anime or manga that is like designed for young men. Right. Like it has all those kinds of like superhero type tropes, like long journey. You're going on a long journey with this character who's like gonna perform like heroic feats and stuff. It's very like there's a lot of tropes in the genre, but they're usually done so well that just people don't care that they're seen over and over again. But yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen is like your first like big shonen, and everyone kind of falls in love with their first shonen. That's why a lot of people love Dragon Ball, a lot of people love Naruto, because those are like the two like godfathers of the genre.
Right.
And so that's why Dragon Ball is so special to me. Although I would argue it's a great show too. But yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen, the author admits he pulls from a lot of the good shows. He's just taking different elements from all of them and putting them into one show, which it turned out really well. It was the most popular show last year, other than Attack on Titan.
Yeah, Attack on Titan. One thing too I want you to kind of elaborate on is the way in anime shows that you said they're kind of made for young men, or I forget the exact words you used, but how is that kind of different than things maybe that we watch in America, if you can speak on that? Just because I have kind of noticed that in certain shows, the shows that you've said specific things about kind of how they want to portray the show, I've kind of seen that. And I don't think we see that as much maybe here in America in our shows that we have.
Yeah, and I think there's a huge difference in the way that Japanese culture and Asian culture in general entertain their children as opposed to the way we do it in the United States. A lot of our kids shows here are very episodic, self-contained stories, usually pretty comedy focused or very lighthearted. And these Japanese stories are typically a lot more mature, and they're designed for the same audience, but they usually have much more mature themes and sometimes very similar themes, themes about being a good person, being kind to others, being selfless. These are all very, persevering, working hard. These are, you could argue that these themes might be more important to, the Japanese culture, and that's why they decide they're so important to push them on their children through their shows. But yeah, in the United States, we just have a lot of, it's very lackadaisical. We love shows like SpongeBob, all the classic Cartoon Network shows. We love these shows. They're great shows, and they have like returning characters, but to see a character go on a long journey and make like a transformation or transforming people around him it's a different type of experience. You get this huge sense of investment, which is kind of why people love anime so much. Is like you basically are going on these long journeys that you just don't get you can't get in a movie format. And the closest thing you can get is probably movies, which look how much people love Star Wars and Harry Potter.
Wow. That's actually great. I've never heard that perspective of it, kind of going on that long journey. I think that's actually one of the main things that I do love about watching anime, because they are sometimes kind of long, but then it's also just like seeing the transformation, how different things are from the first season to that last season, and you kind of feel like you're going on the journey with them, especially in Attack on Titans. Like I felt like that was my house getting smashed, you just really feel like that. And then now as you go through it, you keep watching, you see the character development. I could see how that could be powerful, especially for a young audience.
Yeah, and I'm watching a show right now, One Piece. I was just watching, a little bit before that we started this, and this is a show that it's adapted from a from a comic book. They're mainly pictures and a lot of dialogue in them. And it has 1,000 chapters, and the show has it's in the mid 900s right now, like 950 episodes, 22-minute episodes.
That's a commitment.
Which is, the longest show I've ever seen in terms of a narrative. And, I'm only about 250 episodes in. I've been watching for about a year and a half. And man,
I think every episode, are you still getting like fulfilled? Is that? I don't know if I
oh yeah, I'm in one of the best stories.
Stale? It doesn't get stale.
I'm in one of the best stories. The show apparently just keeps getting better. It's really good. It's probably the best it's ever been at the point I'm watching right now. And the author is just a master of just having so many different stories and fitting them all together in this big, grand story, which is the main mission.
That is really a talent.
The fact that he's able to recreate, all these different stories at like in one story is like, I've never seen anything like it. It's like a bunch of short stories that all fit together in a big,
that is intense. That's one thing too about like a lot of those shows, like just the detail, the attention to detail. I feel like there's a lot more detail into the writing. It's a little bit more like, not like complex and hard to understand, but just like complex, and there's just so many different
moving parts
things going on. And then our shows, it's kind of more just like, get that, you just kind of laugh, and then that's it. You're like, all right, that's it, it's over.
And there are shows in America that do that, like Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, and these are the shows that I love so much. And
Breaking Bad was all right, man.
More consistent. Breaking Bad is just like that's about as good as TV can get. So like we have our kinds of shows like that. It's just that I don't feel like every show is as committed to the long-term investment.
Yeah, I would say Game of Thrones was like that. I think Game of Thrones, the first season or two, when you're seeing them, they're like kids. And then as you keep watching it, you're like, wow, they grew up into the characters we thought they would be, or that they're not. So that's kind of cool. And
George R.R. Martin, it all comes down to the storyteller. And each anime is written by a single, there's not a team that's making these stories. It's one single storyteller. And they dedicate their entire lives to it. So it really is like...
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you could spend your entire life just trying to get your story published, and they won't, and you might just never get it done. And these people do it out of just the sheer passion for it. It's pretty impressive.
Wow, that is wild. That is wild. Yeah, lots of differences between there and here. One of the things that we do love about America is our football, and I think I heard OSU has some big news today. You want to announce that?
Yeah, the Buckeyes just landed, probably their most difficult recruiting cycle. I mean, their most difficult recruiting circuit with a single player in, probably the last decade, maybe since like Terrell Pryor. So it's going that far back.
Wow.
This guy is the number one defensive end, he's a D tackle, D end out of Washington. Number one player in the country and the highest defensive player Ohio State's gotten in 2 decades. So it's definitely an interesting time. Well, not an interesting time. It's a great time to be in Ohio State.
To be a Buckeye. So you said he's playing defensive end at OSU?
Yeah. And you've watched his high school film. He plays a lot of offense too, because he's such an athletic guy.
Oh, okay.
He's like 6'4.5", 280 pounds, Samoan guy. And he's just out there catching touchdown passes, outrunning people, stiff arms. He's a pretty athletic guy.
Do you think, so is he a guy, first snap of the year, he's on the field?
The way Ohio State works, it's not, there's a little bit of tradition and heart that kind of makes Ohio State special. And part of that just comes with, letting the older players always get priority.
JT Barrett.
And we've seen this happen, JT Barrett, you get your tough Borlands of the world.
Yeah.
But, at times it's reasonable, this kid's enrolling now, and, it's already going to be late for him. He's already missed out on spring workouts and a lot of early summer stuff. So I would expect him to see the field for sure. I mean, he's that talented, but there's a lot of talented young guys, a lot of talented older guys who have been there and been putting in those reps.
Right. That makes sense. So what are the expectations this year? Are you thinking national championship? Is it the playoffs?
I don't think there can be any expectation with the two big pieces we have no idea about. There's the defensive backfield, which was their Achilles heel last year. They couldn't guard anybody. Going into the national championship, I wasn't there. There weren't too many hardcore Ohio State fans who thought they had a good chance of stopping them for even a single play.
Oh, yeah, no, not that. Not
drive. And I think that's the way it worked out. Pretty much every single drive was a touchdown. Mm-hmm. And it really wasn't surprising to anyone. So, they haven't really had many new recruits, at least in this last class. Will the young people develop to fill those roles and not be just gaping holes in the entire defense? All the linebackers will be first-year starters, which will be huge.
Okay.
And you'll have a lot of turn on the defensive line. So it'll be a very young defense, but certainly not an untalented one. And you also have a brand new quarterback who all the guys there's two 5-star guys and a 4-star guy all on the roster who are phenomenal players. One, right. TJ Stroud, who's presumed the favorite, won the Elite 11. And so watching the spring game, no one really made you feel super comfortable, but it's right. Very young and it's their first time kind of on that stage.
Okay.
So I'm excited to see what happens. I'm certainly optimistic. I would never doubt Ryan Day. He's given me no reason to doubt him in the last couple of years. So
Ryan Day's the guy.
I'm very optimistic. Nothing short of a championship should be expected.
Okay. And then how about the other what's his name? The other quarterback recruit that Ohio State got.
Well, this is for the 2022 for next year.
Next season.
And
so
Quinn Ewers.
Quinn Ewers. So is he the next like Trevor Lawrence? That's what I want.
To be fair, Quinn Ewers has a rating higher than Trevor Lawrence. This is a guy who's one of the few perfect scores in the history of recruiting. Guys like Jadeveon Clowney, Rashawn Gary didn't turn out too well. I think that could be attributed to the school he went to.
Yeah, definitely.
But guys like that who are just like, you don't see these guys. They're generational talents. Peyton Manning.
What state is he from?
He's from Texas. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah, Texas.
Episcopal maybe, but yeah, he can just throw that ball. He can make any play. He's like a young Aaron Rodgers.
Right. I saw that one throw. That was crazy. Yeah. Okay. All right. So then I know he's a high recruit. Who's the highest recruit ever to come to Ohio State? Maybe he didn't turn out. Maybe he was good.
He would be the highest.
Who?
He would be the highest recruit.
He'd be the highest. So other than him, before him, then who was the highest? Do you know?
I'm trying to think. I've seen this list. Maybe Ted Ginn Jr.
Ooh,
Ted Ginn, just to go back, he was extremely highly rated. Ted Ginn, I know Terrell Pryor was up there, but I don't think it was him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ted Ginn or one of the Bosa brothers.
Okay. And then who is the best all-time Ohio State player? I'm talking about just the highest peak. Maybe not the best career, but like he had the highest peak of all time at Ohio State.
If I had to pick someone, and this is my personal this is the highest peak to me, and I would pick Beanie Wells. If anyone knows Beanie Wells, back in the 2006 to 2009 years, this is back before the Urban Meyer era, so the offense wasn't as just littered with NFL guys. You don't have Michael Thomas and Justin Fields and Ezekiel Elliott on the field every year. So Beanie was like the guy, and he was he's the highest rated running back in Ohio State history. He's from Ohio, local guy. And every time he touched the football, it was like, he could break away. He's a massive dude with speed, and he was just super exciting to watch.
Okay.
And he was like our savior. He was like the dude that everyone looked for. Like that was when we had a clear Heisman guy who was like, we're putting all our chips in this guy to win the Heisman for us. And nowadays it's like nobody can win the Heisman on Ohio State. Everyone's too talented. They all help each other too much.
That makes sense. And then last one, who is, maybe it's still Beanie Wells. Is there a single player, maybe best career, or like this dude is like the definition of Ohio State football, like a Tim Tebow for Florida, something like that?
You'd like to say Justin Fields just because he's so fresh off the memory, but he wasn't originally a recruit though. That is kind of like a knock on him.
That is.
To say someone is like the perfect Ohio State recruit. I would try and think of guys from Ohio who are just like.
I was thinking the one dude, Laurinaitis. Is that his name?
James Laurinaitis, great pick. He's from Minnesota. He's not from Ohio.
Okay, but he's still kind of like.
Yeah, he's like that perfect. I love Ohio State's linebackers. Those are like the guys that I really like think about historically as being like the leaders.
Okay.
But I mean, running backs too, you could say Eddie George.
Okay.
Eddie or Archie, maybe.
Okay. I can see that. I can see all those. Those are good picks. And then to wrap up today's show, the NCAA now says, players can get paid. And I know you don't agree with that. And as I was listening to what you were saying, I was like, whatever. But then as you kind of got through it, I kind of, felt what you were saying. Just wanted you to elaborate a little bit on that. Why is this a bad idea for players? Or for them?
Okay, yeah, and Mary, we spoke about this a little bit, and my position is it's kind of an ideological difference between the people who are thinking like me and the people who are thinking not like me, and both are right in their respective like mindsets. I am a huge college football fan. I like college football because it's different, and I like it because like for the reasons that it is different. It's not like pro football. College sports have always been historically amateur sports, and some people might not like that idea that these people are generating all this revenue through their viewership, and they're not getting a piece of that. But people, it wasn't always like that, and just because it now is like that doesn't mean that the principles and the pillars that make college football what it is have to change. This is money that's going to help universities paying for other athletic programs. You'd like to say, that's one argument. They're creating all this revenue for the schools. Why aren't they being compensated for it? And I would argue that it's not about that. They're there to place. Same argument you can make for a high school team. If a high school team is bringing in a huge audience and the school's making profit off of it, they're students at a school. The mission should be school first. This is a huge bonus of getting to come to school is you get this huge football opportunity. But the other argument would be, why can't they just use their name, image, and likeness to sign autographs, things like that? And my argument against that would be, I don't think that it's always in the best interest of the player's development. It could be in the best interest of the player financially, if they were able to capitalize on that and kind of create some sort of financial stability in their lives. You could argue that's a good thing, and I wouldn't argue against that. But introducing that to the entire landscape of college football, you're going to see young kids who can't handle the money, and they end up kind of being immature. I mean, guys like the Ryan Leaf types, the Johnny Manziel types, like what happens when you give these guys a whole lot of money and they're just, there's just a whole lot of characters in college football, and you just don't know how everyone's going to handle it. And so that's why I think, the NCAA, I think their mission has always been, it's not to, keep the players from making money. It's to, keep the players focused on school and their sport. They're not business people yet. And that's why I think the mission is to, you're in school still. You're not a professional yet. If you want to make money, you can do that. You can drop out of school and make money, but you can't use the NCAA's likeness. The NCAA doesn't want to be affiliated with kids, making a lot of money and then, potentially blowing it.
See, I think like the more I kind of think about it, I really understand that perspective on it. I think it will create a lot more issues when you think about guys like a Johnny Manziel or, just any big time player out of school. If you're going to make all that money, you're already getting other benefits, no matter what they're saying. They already were getting benefits. It could definitely cause a lot of issues to kind of start popping up. And I can see why the NCAA doesn't want to deal with that. I just think that my argument kind of gets hurt when you talk about the high school, because I think about that too. There are high schools that are bringing in a lot of money too, and no one's going to be like, let's pay these high schoolers. But I just think when you look at some of the revenue that some of the programs are making, it's just insane. And to think that a lot of the players aren't getting a piece of that, and some of them don't even have money for certain things, it's just like they can make money. I think there could have been a better way to do it, maybe, than just allow it to be like any amount. I mean, someone just Masterpiece signed like $2 million deal. Like that is a lot of money for someone in college. And if it's not the right person, they might treat people different and things like that. I just think there should be a way that they should be compensated a little bit, just for, everything they do. I mean, like they're, everyone's looking at like here, Ohio State, everyone's like, oh, Justin Fields, when he was here, Justin Fields, people wearing number 1, everyone doing that stuff. And I just think when you really think about that, they deserve something from that, but
and you made a point
too, that it's just kind of like, I don't know where it ends though. Next thing you know, people might just go to college, make a bunch of money, stop playing. It could be a lot of different ways that people could capitalize on this.
And you made a point to me about, some smaller colleges aren't treated as well as the super,
Right. Yeah.
top programs that are making a ton of money. And, I would never argue. I would say that we should always strive to make sure the student athletes who are, giving their a full-time, it's basically a full-time job with how much time you have to dedicate. The student, you should be taken care of in, not just satisfactory terms. You should be well taken care of by the university for doing what you're doing and representing the university. So any sort of shortcomings in that department, like, not getting as good of food or not getting as good of living conditions, I would always be in favor of the school having to pony up a little bit more to take care of that. But ultimately, it's not really something I can waver on, because it is what makes college football. And now you have recruits who can essentially get paid by boosters to go to schools for them. It's a whole new can of worms in recruiting now. And
yeah, that's true.
And it could be a positive or a negative thing. I don't even know that yet. I wouldn't say that I enjoy the fact that people can be paid, but it could give smaller schools a chance to attract local talent with more money. True. It could end up making the rich richer. So I have no idea what's going to happen.
That's a good point. Yep. Definitely love your perspective on that. I think a lot of people, it's really up in the air. I've seen both sides. I think a lot of athletes like, yeah, let's get paid. But I think, you got to think about long-term and other things that are going to happen. But definitely appreciate you coming on. Appreciate the insight. Final words, maybe Chainsaw Man. What's up with Chainsaw Man? Is this a thing? Is it going to happen?
Yeah, Chainsaw Man's a new show coming out this year. It doesn't have a release date. People are saying nothing but hype things about it. Definitely the hottest show on my radar since, in a long time. Since I can remember. So
okay,
I'm excited for that. We can have another show when that comes out. Maybe we can do like a weekly update.
For sure. Okay.
So I love talking to you.
For
good
sure.
luck with the rest of the show.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on, and have a good day.
All right. Have a Sunday. Bye.